Previously, I've done not one, but two videos on double champions, wrestlers who have managed to win not just one, but two titles simultaneously. However, following that, how exactly are we going to double down? Well, let's just say that singles wrestlers aren't the only ones who get to double their fun, and that's the topic of this video, because today... Thank you to Cool Ass Jack and Inigo Montoya and all of my other Patreon supporters for all the help during these times. Alright, before we get into it, allow me to say that if you're enjoying the content here at Dave Knows Wrestling, please make sure that you're subscribed, as it really does help out. And furthermore, you also get to be able to participate in the live streams whenever they pop up, so why not? Oh, and if you want to continue supporting this channel, please consider signing up on my Patreon page. That way, not only do you get a shout out, but there's also going to be some good changes coming that you might want to be a part of. So please go over and check out my Patreon page. I really do appreciate any additional support you have to give. Anyway, with that being said, let's get into the video. Not surprisingly, but we're going to start this list off with the most decorated tag team of all time. We start this list off with the Dudley Boyz. Now, as awesome as this picture is, seeing the team draped in gold, and while they did win each and every one of these championships, they didn't exactly hold all of them at the same time. But that's not to say that they didn't unify two of these belts, because they did. And for that, we have to go back to 2001. After Vince McMahon purchased World Championship Wrestling, he had a bunch of spare WCW titles just lying around, including their Tag Team Championship, which the Dudley Boyz would win on October 23rd, 2001 on an episode of SmackDown off of the Hardys. And then on the following Survivor Series, which took place on November 18th, the Dudley Boyz would win the WWF Tag Team Championships from, well, again, the Hardys, who had just won the belts a week prior. And shockingly enough, the Dudleys have achieved this feat more than once, as they've held both the New Japan IWGP Tag Team titles and the TNA Tag titles simultaneously as well. The Colóns, Carlito, and Primo unified the WWE and the WWE World Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania 25. They did this by winning a lumberjack match on the pre-show, where they defeated the team of John Morrison and The Miz, who were the reigning world champions going into it. Meanwhile, Carlito and Primo had already won the WWE Tag Team titles on September 21st, 2008 on an episode of SmackDown by defeating Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Now, this reign would come to a close on June 28, 2009 at The Bash, where the team of Chris Jericho and Edge would get the win in a triple threat match against the Colóns and the Legacy. And of course, following this, other teams would pick up the straps too, including the team of Jericho, D-Generation X, Show Miz, and lastly, the Hart Dynasty, who would be the final team during this run to be referred to as the Unified Tag Team Champions, and the last team to physically hold both title belts. And even though this was an honor for the Hart Dynasty, this is also when we got those belts that look like pennies. But anyway, while we're on the topic of D.H. Smith, well, let's just get into our next entry. The Killer Elite Squad of Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Lance Archer held both the IWGP Tag Team titles and the NWA Tag Team titles, winning the latter in April of 2013. Then, after dropping those straps, they would regain the NWA Tag titles along with Pro Wrestling Noah's GHC Tag Team Championship. And just so you know, technically speaking, Davey Boy Smith Jr. is going to be the only person who appears on this list twice, so that's quite the accomplishment in and of itself. Next up is a tag team that I'm pretty sure nobody's surprised to see here, and that's the Hardy Boyz, the Broken Hardys to be exact. After becoming the Broken Hardys, Broken Matt and Brother Nero would embark on what was called the Expedition of Gold, where they would travel to other wrestling promotions in order to become the greatest tag team in all of time and space. This saw them capturing tag team titles from a multitude of different smaller promotions, such as Mexico's The Crash, Maryland's MCW Pro Wrestling, and Omega Championship Wrestling. But most prevalent for this story is that they won the TNA World Tag Team Championship on October 2nd, 2016. 2017 at the show Bound for Glory. However, when this title reign came to an end, that is a different story, as at the time, TNA was taping their shows and then airing them later on. And so, even though their contracts officially expired on February 27, 2017, they were still listed as the TNA Tag Team Champions going into March, where they would face and defeat the Young Bucks at the show Manhattan Mayhem 6 in order to become Ring of Honor's Tag Team Champions, thus technically speaking making them the first and, as of this recording, the only tag team to ever hold both the TNA and ROH World Tag Team Championships simultaneously. Now, even though their contracts did expire, the Hardys did offer to drop the titles back on the next round of TNA tapings, however, TNA's parent company declined. And as for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, well, they would lose that right back to the Bucks the following month at Supercard of Honor. Oh, and while we're talking about the Young Bucks and Supercard of Honor 11, well, that leads us to... On April Fool's Day 2017, at the Supercard of Honor 11 show, the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson, would win the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship. But then, the following August, at the show War of the Worlds UK, they would team up with Hangman Page to form a new team called the Hung Bucks. And the three of them would defeat Dalton Castle and the Boys to become Ring of Honor's 6-man Tag Team Champions. But this wouldn't be the last time that the pair would win both a regular Tag Team Championship as well as a 6-man one, as they also teamed with Marty Scurll to win the never openweight 6-man tag team championship while also being the IWGP tag team champions. And if that wasn't enough, they were also once triple tag team champs too, as they were formerly the tag team champions for PWG, Ring of Honor, as well as being the junior tag team champions for New Japan. And in case you were noticing from some of the pictures, yes, the Young Bucks were also the Super Kick Party champions, but that's not exactly a real title belt, so I wasn't counting it. But if you'd like to, well, go right ahead. The Guerrillas of Destiny became the IWGP Tag Team Champions on February 23, 2019 at the show Honor Rising Japan. But then, later that year on April 6th, the Guerrillas would win the ROH Tag Team Championship at the G1 Supercard show in Madison Square Garden, where the Guerrillas went into the show as the IWGP Tag Champions, facing off against Villain Enterprises, who were the reigning ROH champions at the time. Not to mention that both LIJ and the Briscoes were also a part of that match too. Oh, and I was at that show live, by the way. And while the Guerrillas of Destiny did walk out of that match with both championship belts and the Briscoes walked out with none, that would soon change, as the Guerrillas' reign as double champions would come to an end after losing the ROH tag titles to the Briscoe brothers. As I'm sure many of us recall, the Usos recently unified the WWE Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships during a winner-take-all match that happened on May 20th, 2022 by defeating the then Raw champions of RK Bro, Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. However, they were already the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Champions, which they won way back on July 18th, 2021 on the Money in the Bank kickoff show off of the Mysterios, Rey and Dominic. Now originally, this match was supposed to take place at the WWE pay-per-view Backlash, but instead it was turned into a 6-man tag for some reason, featuring both Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns just has to be put into everything. Oh, and I should also bring up that these two teams already faced each other at the previous year's Survivor Series, which I was also there for live and in person too. Beginning to notice a pattern here. And lastly, we have FTR, who surprised everybody by showing up at ROH's Final Battle, where they attacked the newly crowned tag champions of the Briscoes, which teased that awesome dream match that many fans were eager to see. The payoff then came on April Fool's Day 2022 at the Supercard of Honor 15 show, where FTR would defeat the Briscoes to become ROH Tag Team Champions. However, on October 16, 2021, on an episode of Dynamite, FTR had already defeated the Lucha Brothers to win the AAA tag team titles. But FTR wasn't done just yet, as at the AEW New Japan show Forbidden Door, FTR would take on the teams of Roppongi Vice and the IWGP Tag Team Champions of the United Empire. But out of all three of these teams, it would be FTR that would come out victorious, making them not just double champions, but now triple champions. But not only that, I do feel like those AEW tag titles are right around the corner for FTR. Well, there you go, double tag team champions in professional wrestling, but are there any others that you could name? Let me know down in the comments, and please make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and that you're subscribed to this channel. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my awesome Patreon supporters out there. And as always, Dave knows.